and welcome to the Fourth Branch Podcast. So glad you found us. Our premise here is simple. Let's get real people together and talk about the issues that matter to them. This week, we'll be unpacking two very familiar terms, truth and reality. How do you define those terms? Do you consider them synonymous? And if not, how are they different to you, and why do you define them differently? As is customary on our podcast, we want to explore thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and opinions from across the spectrum. The way we see it, every voice should find value in the arena of public discourse, including you and me. My name is Atal Osama. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the conversation. Let's get started. Welcome to the Fourth Branch Podcast. My name is Atal Osama. I am here with my really good friend, Brian Henderson. Man, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good considering world's interesting place.
That is putting it mildly. Very interesting place. And depending upon how you are educating yourself about the world, you may have a varying take on what's good where. And that just leads to an interesting point. We were talking about this before we started the show, truth versus reality. And on the surface, you would think that those are complementary terms, but not always.
Yeah, I would say they are more, if you think in 2D terms or linear terms, they're more supplementary terms.
Right.
Like there's the whole 180 degrees that is reality, and then there's the piece of that pie that people are able to perceive based on their current knowledge that becomes truth to them. It kind of lends credence to that, what seemingly benign statement from people where they say, "This is my truth."
Yeah.
It is. It is your truth, but it doesn't mean it's reality. That's how I look at it.
And it's really opened a Pandora's box because decisions are made based upon what is true or false. Policy is formed, lives are affected, and there appears to be what I would have considered to be objectionably true. We are in a space where we allow ourselves to question those things. I suppose there's a place for that. I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with questioning things, because that's how you learn and that's how you grow. But I wonder if we need to redefine what we mean collectively when we say something is true. Because I don't think that carries the same meaning for everyone. And because we don't define it the same, we have some bitter disagreements at times.
I agree. I think, pardon me, might clear my throat. I think literally that subjectivity being brought into what is truth is completely weaponized at this point against the people, and by weaponizing the people against each other. It was,
Agreed.
sometimes things are just happen, and it's not just pure chance, but the concept of self-regulation has come to my mind and in front of me several times in the past few weeks. And I can't help but think of how that has impacted people and how they are unable to self-regulate, meaning they don't understand how to stop, pause, and think. It's all reactionary. It's all absolutely reactionary. To get closer and closer to the point we're going to get to, it's if this person said it or had anything to do with it, I am going to react.
It's not true.
Automatically stand against it and hate it and
it's a lie.
Fight it.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with whether it's actually real. But then the weaponizing is where they have empowered people to say, it's my truth, in many circles over the past couple decades.
I guess that's what gives me heartburn, because I don't necessarily know what my truth means. It used to be the truth, right? You weren't able to personalize what was true. Now, we have individual experiences and we live individual lives. And of course, your experience is going to differ from mine. And I don't mean or take away from anyone's personal experience because I know what's behind what they're trying to say. My problem is when my truth is expected to be treated like the truth. And that's where I get heartburn because while I respect that may be true for you, that is not true objectionably. And I guess that's the question that I'm asking is, do we need to redefine what that word means? Or do we need to reclaim that word and stop allowing the word truth to be co-opted to strengthen the position of someone's personal experience that they want to be a standard that may not necessarily exist?
Oh, I think for sure it's more, we need to do more of a reclamation. Because it's been drilled in people's heads, and from my head, I say it's thick enough that it's been leveled against the side of my head for the last 15 years. I won't let it in because I have an effective filter, I think, where I understand that if the wall in front of me, and we all know what this applies to, and the biggest use of this kind of illogic, that if the wall in front of me is blue, by all analytical ways of defining it, meaning the spectrum released by that wall as analyzed by a computer, not by our individual eye, says there's blue being given off by that wall. That would be perceived by the average human eye. Then that wall is blue. Now, I understand that there are people out there, a minority of people who are colorblind.
Right.
Okay, and they will not perceive what spectrum is actually being given off by that wall. But you cannot make rules. You should not make rules based on the people who cannot process the information
Right.
properly.
Right. Or redefine what blue is. When I look at it, I see gray. Therefore, gray equals blue. And there's too much of that. I agree.
And to me, it is just completely weaponized against the people. It's turning them against each other. I've never been more, and I'm very hesitant to say this, but I've never been more disappointed in people at large, in this country specifically, than I am now. I've never been more disappointed in my lifetime because literally people are begging for their own demise. They're literally cheering against things that are good for them because they've been hoodwinked. They've been taught to be angry at ideas. It's kind of like, you ask the average person, would you send the full might and strength of the U.S. Army to go and destroy Japan? Because the U.S. News and the New York Times and USA Today and AP all said Japan could invade America within the next 2 months because if they did, they would get a lot of money and they would have all of our stuff.
Right.
And any thinking person would say, well, if they did invade America, then yes, we could go ahead and go to war with them and bring the full might of America against them. But let's be rational. You just said, what if? You just maybe. You just said possibly. And when I'm looking over at Japan right now, they aren't doing anything to us. And what people have been so conditioned to do is based on hate. And I know people are not going to like to hear that because they like to say that to the other side. Based on hate, based on a conditioned fear and loathing of an individual. They're being taught to bypass what is real and go and be angry at ideas and afraid of ideas and be reactionary and take action based on ideas. One example, somebody sent me a post and it said, "Are you going to boycott?" I said, "Oh my, man, boycott what?" And they said, "Okay, on this particular day, nobody go to the store and buy anything. Nobody go do this. Nobody, because we're going to show them that we have the power." I said, "Okay, show them we have the power to what?" So we have the power to deny them money. When they see how much money we cannot give them in a given day, I said, "Okay, all right, I see what your aim is. Now, why are you doing this?" And all of the answers that I got were just in case. Now, while I'm for preemptive, taking care of problems, it's just in case. So what you're saying is nothing that you're talking about has actually happened, but you want to take action against it. And I just kind of said, well, that's good luck with that. And they already know that the consumer has buying power and they don't care because they know the next day you're going to buy 1.5 times as much because you were denied the day before.
Right.
Maybe the best option is make a list of what you're afraid of. Like you would tell an 11-year-old. Write down what you're afraid of. Now watch over the next few months for actual occurrences. Not someone else said that is about to happen, actual occurrences. And then later, I won't get into it now, but it becomes the question of being an adult. Once again, if you see that someone could actually take something that massive away from you that you need, but you dodged the bullet and they didn't this time, well, as an adult, what are you doing to make sure that it doesn't have that much effect on you the next time it happens? What are you doing to change your personal circumstances? How are you changing as a group? Or are you just sitting back crying and whining about it like children? Oh, they're going to take away my sippy cup. I don't want to sound judgmental like that, but it's what it comes down to. When you're an adult, you need to be ready the next time. If you're that scared, do something.
It's that weaponization of fear that concerns me, and why I think that there is some benefit to identifying the reality of things versus what is quote unquote true. To carry with your Japan example, in the spectrum of possibilities, there are a lot of things that could happen. A lot of things, good and bad, welcome and terrifying. And when you're in a space of unknown and you're looking for indicators as to what is coming, it is important how and what is presented to you. And, I hate wading unnecessarily into hot button political topics, but I'm going to go ahead and get my scarlet letter.
Well, for it.
So one of my major issues with the former president, Joe Biden, he gave a speech about maybe 1.5 years, 2 years into his presidency, talking about the ills of extremism. And then he highlighted January 6th, Proud Boys, what he considered to be extreme, without addressing the left-leaning extremism that he would have had far more ability to address. And the reason I bring that up is the purpose of his speech was not to address extremism, which is a real problem in our society. That wasn't his goal. His goal was to create fear. His goal was, shortly after the midterms, he needed to lay the groundwork for his upcoming reelection bid, which he knew he was going to do. And instead of taking a position of leadership on an issue that is real and affecting people's lives, he wanted to create this air of fear that there are these red state rebels who are hell-bent on destroying the Union. And at the time, without even listening to what he had to say, you could pick your side, and this is how the pundits discussed it, right? On the left-leaning side, they praised the speech, and it was wonderful, and it was timely. And on the right-leaning side, this was unfair, and it was divisive, and we have allowed ourselves, to continue with your theme of disappointment, we have allowed ourselves to become so easily programmed in the name of convenience. It's just easier to allow yourself to be told what to think rather than you finding out what's actual. I wanted to say real there, but real is sometimes hard to use. To find out what is the reality of any given situation. And if we don't find a way to push back against this weaponization of fear and start looking at the reality of what is around us. And if I can draw another example, we have, whether people want to accept this or not, we have a border control problem in this country. It is too easy to move back and forth in and out of the United States with or without illegal intent. That is a problem. It should not be a partisan issue that a sovereign country wants to solidify its borders. That should be common sense, but it's been weaponized so greatly. And you got one side afraid that the hordes of the undead are getting ready to come across the Rio Grande, and they're afraid of that. And you got another side afraid that we're not holding to our ideals, our American ideals, and we're a nation of immigrants, and they're afraid of looking like we're some evil state, and neither position is valid. Neither one. There are no hordes, and there's no issue about whether it's not controversial to want to secure your border. There's no argument on either side. And instead of us addressing a needed problem, a needed issue, we would rather go through the show and the shenanigans that we see currently, and the problem is not being solved. And I would ask anyone listening, if you have an opinion about border security, before you think about default to what you think is true, I'm asking you to consider what is the reality, what is happening, regardless of your opinion on the issue. What is happening right now? And if you're willing to give yourself that much mental space to consider what's happening, just a little bit more, what could we do to address it?
Like, not to jump completely on one side versus the other, but in May of 2024, so just last year, May, long before the election, the House Budget Committee itself said that at that point, now this is not something verified by Snopes, this is not MSNBC, this isn't some far right winger saying it. This is the House Budget Committee said we've now spent about $150 billion to give clothing, food, housing, and assistance to illegal immigrants, or however you want to say, immigrants that are not yet American citizens.
Okay.
And Biden said, no big deal. And he could say that because probably 70% of that cost is borne by the state. For the people that just refuse to understand the problem with this gigantic influx of immigrants, period, call them legal or illegal.
That's not the point. Right. Right.
You have to understand, you have to come to terms with the fact that on one side, you're saying, what about us? The government's coming after us. They're going to take our things away from us. But you failed, okay? And just people have to admit to themselves, look, put your ego aside. You failed to see over the last 4 years that those states that had to take the burden of that $150 billion as of last May, there's only one way to get that money that states have. It's either by taking it from your taxes or taking more taxes from you, in other words, or they have to cut state-funded social programs.
There's no other way.
So there's a dichotomy there that can either release your brain from a prison that it might be in or give you cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to accept that bringing all of those people in and supporting them 100% means you're going to lose exactly what it is you're afraid that this new administration is taking away from you. And the logic that you're using is that they're auditing these organizations and these outlays of money to see where the waste is, and that's what's going to get you. People need to start to understand. Like you said, there's reality and then there's your truth. Get away from your truth. Step away from your truth for just a moment.
Just a minute.
Look at what really happens. I'm going to say the oldest saying in financial history. Follow the money.
Yeah.
You weren't getting it in 2021, 2, 3, or 4. You weren't getting it. And so now there's a group of people, deplorable as they want to be, or you think they are, could be morally, that are saying, we're trying to look for that money that is being wasted and bring it back to America. And the only thing that you have to say is, but they're not going to give it to us anyway.
You know, what's funny about that? What's funny about that is the concept of government waste is universally accepted. Everybody knows that. No one anywhere on the spectrum thinks that the government is an efficient entity. Nobody thinks that. Until, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, this is the first time in my nearly 50 years that I saw someone actually actively attempting to identify the waste that we all know it.
And making it public.
And the pushback that they are receiving, trying to do a job that we all agree needs to be done, is amazing to me. I love your use of the word of cognitive dissonance because that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. If we know there's waste. That does not take a Harvard-led study to determine that the government is wasteful. We know that at every level. We know that bureaucracy is inherently inefficient. We know that. So if we know that, would it not make sense to try to address those inefficiencies and improve the operation of the entity? How is that controversial? How is that an argument? And the reason it is, to circle back to what we're talking about, because people aren't looking at what is actually going on. It's this truth that they have aligned themselves with, that Party A is against the American people. Party B is self-serving to big business or pharmaceutical companies or whatever you want to believe. And then once you put that lens on, it doesn't matter what they do. You believe that it serves the ends that you predetermined that they're trying to serve, as opposed to actually looking, not with your own hubris and your own thoughts and your own prejudice, but taking a step back and say, let me see what is going on. And if we could get more of that, right, get away from that my truth, right? If we could get more of that and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening around me, what's happening in my face, it would be much easier for us to progress at a macro level because we will be better educated about what's important, where the fires really are, as opposed to the expediency of being fed by this and taking 20 seconds to consume something that really needs 2 hours of your time. Really needs 2 hours of your time.
I would even go as far as to say, and I know exactly what you meant. More than just what's in your face, but what is empirically provable? What do you have knowledge of? What sources do you have for the knowledge? And when you put all of what you know together, what does it really mean? I think allow me to be a little egotistical here for a second.
Sure.
I think it's completely hideously funny that people think they have things so figured out with the sides in the first place. I think it's hideously funny, and because what could be happening right now is the most clever end run in the history of all end runs on humanity, in what we consider recorded history. I think people, if they really want to get fatalistic, nihilistic or whatever about this, if they really want to dig deep and say, what negative could be happening to us? They could just stop and look at the fact that Trump is all in on the environment. They could stop and look at the fact that Trump has bent the knee, to use the popular phrase now from the television show, where he's bent the knee to the puppet masters, like every single president we've had since one of them lost part of his brains in a car. Mm-hmm. And those people publish, according to certain rules, they call them the 12 rules. According to those rules, which are the rules that they actually go by, they couldn't give a 2 cents about Christianity or Islam or anything else. According to the rules they actually go by, let me put another thing on their list. They couldn't give 2 craps about Judaism either.
You're right.
Put them all in there. Put them all in the bucket and ship them down, These people write about what they planned. They have been writing about what they planned. And see, the thing is, I'm going to say another horrible truth. People don't read.
Yeah.
People don't read. If you make a long Facebook post, they're not going to read it. Make it. They just hate it. They don't read. And so that's why they put so much confidence in what you said earlier, which is, let me get my soundbite from somebody that I deem credible, or it's just a group that I know might keep me safe in perception.
Right.
And they've all missed. I think it's a horrible thing to not know the big picture at all. I mean, I'm just going to say that. A lot of people don't know the big picture at all. They're just swimming around in the little microcosm of the big picture that was made for them, a little kiddie pool. Mm-hmm. You hate this guy over here, you hate that guy over here. One of them stands for this, one of them stands for that. Even when it's clear that their side stands for exactly what would be the worst for them. clearly if you actually saw the big picture. And then on the other side, I'm going to skip a lot and just go right to the end here. Otherwise, this could take 45 minutes. I'll skip to the end, and it goes like this. If anyone has read the memoirs of all the people who were in on the New World Order, globalism, and the Agenda 2030 and all the goals that they've had since the turn of the previous century, documented, bragged about what they were going to do. This is just the phase where a lot of people are given the treat. They said, and I quote, I loosely quote, "We're going to send everything upside down. Truth will be lies, lies will be truth, men will be women, women will be men. But we will turn everything natural on its ear, both intellectually and physically. And once we've driven everything to a point that is almost unrecognizable in terms of science and logic, we've created and sown as much chaos as we possibly can, then there will come the group of us that will save everyone from all of that." Now, if people claim to have a view of the big picture and know all of these things and have read all of these memoirs and books and done all this studying and paid attention and thought congregatively and put it all together, they would know, well, crap, this is like not good. This is not good, because here's what happens. We'll introduce the euro. That didn't work. A lot of people didn't bite on that. No, that's terrible. It's awful. It's awful. But we knew that wasn't going to work. It's an obvious ploy. We want one world government and one currency. We're not going to see that one. Oh, you're just going to do one over here, the Amero one. Nobody swatted that down. But what you do is you plan the end run. You're destroying everything along the way. And then along comes this one side over here, this apparent side called the United States and Western powers, who are now vying for power against the terrible, ruthless, and awful BRICS people. But then you have to put it together. Wait, why is it that BRICS and the Western powers both want controllable digital currency? How is it that both of them are basing all of that on climate? I'll just say the fake science that, or I should say the science is real, but the interpretation of it is all cooked and shaken and poured back out on us, People, if people really, really want to say they think they understand what's coming in the future, they should really start reading more. And I'm sorry that maybe that was just a long expression of my anger and disappointment at people. But people think they're fighting against something terrible happening to them by hating Trump. And all I'm trying to say is they may only be half right and they could be completely wrong. So that's
Yeah, I mean, again, because I don't want to join the chorus of voices telling people what to think. I don't want to supplant whatever you're currently listening to determine your truth. I want to challenge you to look. And you said something interesting. And it's true, right? We live such busy lives. Who has the time or the energy to really uncover and understand the myriad of things that are going on around you at any given point of the day? And one can be forgiven for, out of necessity, after you have dealt with the hectic day and you have a moment to yourself and you're attempting to understand, what's going on around you, and your desire is to consume as much as you can in the limited amount of time that you have available, well, you can be forgiven for relying on summarized media to accomplish that goal. What I want to challenge you to do is to ask yourself, why are you so busy? Why don't you have the time to do something as simple as read? It's not a matter of, I try to see the good in everybody, so I don't want to be as cynical. I believe that people want to be educated, right? People like to be in the know. They like to know what's going on. However, when you live such a hectic life and such a busy life, your ability to educate yourself is curtailed, limited, and in some cases eliminated. But someone does have the time to do it. Someone does have the time to know what's going on. And why is it that they are able to educate themselves in a manner that you are not? Is that coincidental? Is that happenstance? Or are you being funneled into this tizzy of social media and television shows and the rat races and what's going on at your job and the price of eggs and all of these other things going on? Do those things just happen to be there? Is it just work out that way? Or is it better that you are too busy and too distracted to do that kind of work and that kind of research? Does that serve an end? Does that help anywhere? And that's, to get back to what we're talking about, if you know something, if you know what's true, you cut through. You cannot fool an educated person with a half-truth or some misdirection, because they know. If I'm catching an Uber from the airport in a city that I've never been in, I have to rely on that Uber driver to get me to where I'm trying to go because I don't know the way. When I get home, I know how to get there. I'm just using your vehicle to do it. And you can't take me throughout the city and to benefit your fee because I know the route. And I want to challenge everyone. First of all, see what's going on in front. And this is what I meant when I was saying what's happening in front of you, right? Look at what's going on in front of you and how much of that is necessary. How much of it is necessary? What really needs to be there? And you might be surprised to learn that your Facebook time and your Instagram time and your TikTok time and your working on this for your job and doing this, perhaps those seconds and minutes and hours can be better served to help you. And if you can start to develop that mentality and you can start to gain an understanding about what's really going on around you, that's how you can become better informed. But it's going to start with really, before you can even start the education process, you got to identify the roadblocks that are there to begin with.
Yeah. That takes me back to another, there are many people out there that see the game, or at least portions of the game that are going on right now. And I can see, other people that get a little frustrated with people that are stuck in a certain mode of thinking that's not productive to them. And I kind of said the same thing, this is a rat race, and the other individual used the term fight or flight mode all the time. And I wholeheartedly agreed with that it is a fight or flight mode. It's the best way to say it. People are stuck in that mode because it's a survival that they're trapped in. They got to make ends meet, as they say.
Right.
And what I always thought that was an ironic way to say it, because when you make the ends of a line meet,
it's a circle.
You're in a circle.
You're right.
You are just you're traveling the same path.
No progress.
Right. Over it. Right. Somehow I thought you said that.
Yes.
And I just thought it was an interesting way to say that all the time. I mean, and that funnel you're talking about, it is real. It is absolutely real. You don't get the same education at every school. I mean, everybody knows that. In general, no one is taught.
You and I didn't.
Right. Right. I'll quote Robert Kiyosaki and just say that, we're not taught anything about finance. We're not taught what money is. If you say to certain people, debt is money and money is debt, They will shake their head and think they understand what you just said, but they did not understand. No, debt is how you get rich. Saving money is how you get poor. Okay, and when they teach people, I'm not going to go into it. Everybody can go look at Robert Kiyosaki.
I was going to say, if you don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, fantastic read. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one of those things that helps see the bigger picture. You're not taught about money, and that's why you go after money for the sake of money, because you think it's going to make you feel safe, keep you safe. And then you put it in the bank because you think that's going to be where it's the most safe and that's where you're getting robbed consistently. But anyway, all of that, I will stop.
Yeah,
I will stop going away from that.
I think that would be a fascinating topic to unpack in subsequent weeks, because
right.
Money miseducation. I could talk about that. That's a whole nother. We'll come back to that one.
Yeah, I'll bring it back. It's
okay.
Part of the funnel and the trap that keeps people on the treadmill of life and moving their legs really fast, going nowhere, being too tired to take a look.
Going nowhere.
At what's going on.
Until you are 50 plus, and you then realize the reality of what you've been doing for the last 26, 27 years. And now it's too late.
It's an advantage, I think. I think the answer to your question is yes, it's an advantage to those who would actually move the chess pieces to make sure that the chess pieces are a little bit too tired to resist. And that when you give them the motivation to move, it's because you've convinced them that your motivation is good for them. You've convinced them that they're fighting for the noble cause.
I really wish, and we had a conversation before about education. I really wish we could be more candid about how our society is structured. And this is going to be a bit of a tangent, but this is a really pet peeve of mine. Stop telling young people that anything is possible. That's not true. The possibilities are contingent upon numerous factors over and above their abilities and desires and work ethic. Independent of that, there are factors that they will have no control over that will determine the direction of their lives. Now, being made aware of those, that may allow some to transcend, right? That may be the case.
Yes.
But it is a fallacy to allow anyone to think that anything is possible. That is not true. It's not true at all. The real truth is we need gas station workers. Our society depends on this. We need truck drivers. We need sanitation. We need these roles. And right now, because nobody aspires to that. So how do people end up there? Just think about that for a minute. Nobody aspires to be a grocery store manager. That's nobody's dream. But someone has to fill that role. And those who are not doing what they thought they were going to be doing find themselves as working in call centers, in restaurants, and all of these other jobs that no one ever dreams of. I want you to find a child that wants to grow up and be a forklift operator in a warehouse somewhere. And we could separate the chaff from the wheat at an early age, right? If you're not like I said, I know this is a tangent. If you're not academically inclined, that's okay. Let's stop trying to force feed that on everybody. Some of us are going to be better served in service industry jobs, and we need those people in our society. Some of us are going to be better served in manual labor. We need those people in our society. And my personal belief, we would do better as a society if we could just be honest about what it is that we do and what it is that we need, and stop feeding on people's broken dreams and promises in order to fill these necessary roles, right? Everybody's not going to get a yacht. Everybody's not going to be famous. Everybody's not going to get that. And that's all right. That is okay. And if we could have those honest conversations about what it is that we really need. If I could circle back to the migrant thing real quick, you anti-migrant people, I want you to ask yourself, who picks oranges in this country? That's just one thing. Who picks oranges? And what do you think orange juice is going to cost when you have to pay the orange juice picker minimum wage, okay, paid vacation, medical? What do you think that is going to do to the cost of orange juice? And rather than vilifying these people who are doing necessary work that we don't want to do, why don't we find a solution to say, hey, listen, we've got people who are willing to do this work. It benefits them. They don't have to sneak in. We'll bring them in because we need them here. And then we'll send them back. Why can't we have those kinds of conversations? Why can't we have that kind of honesty as opposed to silliness, I'll call it, that we deal with every day?
I think a lot of that just, it goes back to, what are we? What kind of a society are we in the first place? We are an elitist society, whether we
100%. 100%.
And we're patterned, molded, designed to take full advantage to the point of robbing, raping, and pillaging other countries and people. And so we end up with systems in place that make sure that you have to have a quote unquote class of people that do the undesirable things.
Right.
That is a completely flawed mentality. It is an egotistical, judgmental, and flawed mentality. I agree with you. We need people who can pick oranges, using that example, who can do manual labor, who are good at it, because let's face it, all of us aren't good at that.
I tell you what, I wouldn't not have orange juice. If it was up to me to pick oranges, we'd be drinking water.
Right. Somebody out there has the energy, stamina, willpower, motivation to build a house. Outside at my neighborhood, there's another house being built, and I see people 85 feet up in the air working, and I'm thinking, thank God for them, because I'm not working 85
I'm not doing it.
in the air on that. They would get one nail in that roof, and then I've been trying to figure out how to slide down on it. It's done.
Right.
So these jobs, first we have to change our mindset, and that's a whole, we have to change our mindset. These are not demeaning careers and jobs. These are necessary.
They're necessary.
Picking an orange, you might as well say farmer.
Right.
None of us can eat without these people. Does everyone need to survive? Food, shelter, and, some clothing. If the weather's not right. You can walk around your house naked if you want to, but you need those things. So how do we dare? And of course, the best example is the people who pick up our garbage. Seriously? Well, then let it pile up in your front yard. You take care of it.
See what happens.
Get your big burn pit in your backyard. See how you enjoy that. It's the lack of appreciation for almost anything that makes our society so that you have this caste system that is it's unspoken, because when you're in school, you're taught, you can't say that, but the teacher's winking, you're good at math, so you're
fine, yeah?
You're going to be all right.
Right.
And no wonder, like the kid in the back who's not good at math is not missing that message. So wait, are you saying that I'm not useful? You saying that I was created improperly? You saying something wrong with me?
Right.
When there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong with you. Right.
And at all. Let me say it again. I'm not climbing up on a building or a house or anything. I can't do it. When I say can't, I mean that's self-defeating. Like, I don't want to do it. And I see people doing it all the time. And let me say this to everyone out there. I respect them.
100%.
Period. Okay.
I'm gonna take that a step further. Whether for our audience, whether you realize it or not, you respect them too.
Mm-hmm.
You're dependent upon them, whether you realize it or not.
Yep. See how you cry when your trash starts stacking up in your front yard. And that man that you don't even, if you have the means, you haven't even left him a gift card at Christmas yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You just take it for granted as someone that's just in the background doing things that just happen. And no, these are like things that allow you to survive, not live with disease and pestilence. I mean, it's outrageous. And I'll make I'll make the biggest arc right now. Back to kind of over when they say, because I'm going back to the people that complain about what's going on. When they say, well, have they found yet the it's $2.3 trillion that was lost in 2001, right before 9/11. They just stopped looking for that. Nobody cared. Trillions, people.
Yeah.
That's money that could have been making sure that your Social Security wasn't insolvent. That could have been making sure that, SNAP didn't run out of money. Just lost. Okay. And you get these people saying, we want to talk to China and Russia and maybe cut our defense budget in half, which would still make it larger than the top four to their other countries.
Right.
And if you cut our defense budget in half, let me inform everyone, I have a few hobbies, I guess, or I just do too much. That will be enough to make us fiscally fine. If we cut our defense budget in half, all that stuff you're worried about and crying about and talking about, it's done. So stop cheering against it. Stop cheering against everything that these people are doing. I don't care if Donald Trump came out in a Ku Klux Klan outfit and said, I'm going to cut the defense budget in half. Listen, if the money's not there at all for you, then no matter how much you cry and whine, you're not going to have SNAP. You're not going to have any of that. But if they say, look, we got it now. Now you have a leg to stand on. Now you have a fight worth fighting. But wait to see what they do with it. Don't stop them from finding the money.
And after we resolve that, ask yourself, why are you dependent upon SNAP to begin with? If you're gainfully employed, why are you dependent upon government assistance to subsidize your life? Why is that? I'm just going to leave that right there. Why is that? And rather than fighting for the need of its existence, analyze the need for its existence. Why? In the richest, most prosperous country in the history of the world, there's never been an entity quite like the United States, not with the same global reach. I mean, I guess you could maybe argue the Roman Empire or the Mali Empire, maybe, but
it's still well made.
Yeah,
we're it now.
I mean, if you live here, why? Why? I just want to food for thought there. If you're listening, right? You want to fight for SNAP benefits and food stamps, and you want to okay, those are noble efforts, right? Social Security, it is a noble thought, right? But why do we need that to begin with? Why is that?
And it's another poignant thing.
Social Security is a crucial.
Good timing.
Google. So I just got this phone. This is the S25 Ultra, and this thing listens to me when I do not ask it to. And I'm not going to edit this out. It keeps happening.
A poignant thing, again, talking about Social Security. Well, okay, so everyone's worried about him canceling Social Security. Well, then how come he just proposed to not tax Social Security for retired people? Okay, I'm just going to say it like this. If you're so angry that you can't cheer for the millions of elderly people who just got a bump in the amount of Social Security they get to keep, you are part of the problem.
Yeah.
You have to, at that point, see that you're cheering against the good things for other people and even yourself. Just you gotta just stop and ask, what are you mad at? And should you suspend your anger just for a minute? Like I was gonna say, if he came out in a Ku Klux Klan outfit and Musk was next to him and threw a hearty Nazi salute, but the announcement was,
Right.
we have a balanced budget.
Right.
Fat is gone from the budget.
Right. What is going to impact you more?
And you, my wonderful former taxpayers, aren't going to have to pay taxes anymore.
Right. What's going to impact you more? Right. The fact that they're xenophobes and racists, or the fact that we're fiscally solvent. Exactly.
And another point I want to make is, to my folks out there, I don't agree with my enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't agree with that. Because if that other enemy was my enemy in the first place, then that means the enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Yeah, you have two enemies. Right.
But if I see one of them, first I have to recognize one of them as my enemy, or both of them. And if I see one of them taking the other one out, I mean taking them out, then half the people that I would have to worry about are gone. While all they're doing, let me stress this, while all they're doing is taking away the things that are hurting you, leave them alone.
Right.
Because what it will enable you to do, and this is where it comes back to self-regulation, strategy, not being reactive. What it allows you to do is step back, look at what's happening, and strategize. Okay, now that one of them's gone, let me make a plan to make sure that whatever comes out of this, I still am not vulnerable to the one that wins, that I still can maximize my current position to have some sort of real strength. And let me tell you, folks, having a boycott, it has not worked in decades. And I don't know if anybody knows this. These are different times, and it calls for different measures. I'm sorry, but if you want to save your grandchildren, action is all that's going to work. Not inaction. Action. Pull together with the people around you. Make your neighborhood a neighborhood. Find out why you can't have block parties in the front while they keep forcing you to the back. It's because they don't want any unity in your neighborhood. Okay, simple things like that. Pool your money, pool your resources. Stop being crabs in a bucket. Be trustworthy. Don't be a snake and a snitch. Break out of your shell of selfishness and help other people around you see that, look, if we work together, we can be way stronger. Make those people that you say hate you stop you from doing it, but don't just sit there and say, oh, they're going to take away this handout. And I know when some of you hear the word handout, you get all offended and everything, but listen, okay, call it whatever you want. A friendly gesture of giving you stuff for free.
That's what it is. So,
because if they can do that, if they can give it to you, you've heard this before, then they can take it away. I just fell off my soapbox.
Yeah. We are at an hour, man. Yeah, just that quick. Just that quick. I want to, if I could offer a final thought here, man, I'll throw it back to you. We live in a dynamic society, and I love what we are and what we're capable of. And why I love being able to have these kinds of conversations is because I'm hopeful that with small changes, we can have drastic improvements in a myriad of areas in our lives. And it doesn't take much more than what you just said. Stop allowing yourself to be programmed. What you're accepting as convenience may actually be a huge disservice to you. I believe in our collective ability. And if you believe the same, all it takes is for a small number of us to move in a unified direction rather, to make really positive changes in a relatively short period of time. And I'm very hopeful for that. And I expect that if we continue to talk about it, we'll find other voices that'll join this chorus, and we can make some real positive change.
Well said. Well said. I guess the last thing I'll say is balance. Those same rules, those 12 principles that I said that they use against us. You have to understand that they work for us. They're not biased. Those rules, those laws of the universe, as they say they dictate that for every evil plan that is hatched against you, something is happening to stop that evil plan from getting you. If you do things voluntarily to go toward the mouth that's going to eat you, that's your choice, and you're going to get eaten. You'll be part of the balance that gets eaten. But we have the opportunity, and when I say we, let me be specific. Earlier when I said my folks, I meant all of us.
Yeah.
If you want to survive, you want to live through this, you want to prosper, whether you're black, white, whatever, whether you're Asian, whether you're Australian, whatever, I'm talking to you. We need to be able to see what's going on. Get together. Be of a mind of prosperity. Be of a mind of watchfulness. Watch the people who say they're leading you. Be aggressive when they do something against you. Make sure they're doing something against you first, but there will always be balance. And all I'm saying is don't get down. Don't get depressed. Keep your eyes up and think of the man next to you as someone that's fighting right alongside of you, because we're all in this together.
All right, man. I'll leave that. I don't think I could improve upon that if I wanted to. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will talk to you guys again soon.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you'd like to support us and our mission to foster real dialogue, you can find us on most major social media sites, including Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, X, Threads, and TikTok. Just search for the Fourth Branch Podcast with a numeric 4. Please reach out to us if you have a comment or an idea for a show. We mean it when we say we want to hear from everyone, and we're serious about including you in the conversation. Got a topic that you're passionate about? Let's talk about it. We'd love to get you on the show and allow you to express your views. Once again, thanks for listening. Can't wait to talk to you soon.